Awesome, awesome. Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good, good, good. It's great to be back here at the Shed Expo. Everybody agree? Now I'm taking volunteers. Who wants to come up here and help me? Because I'm nervous, man. Getting in front of crowds just make me nervous, but that's all right, I guess. Just cheer me on if I'm doing something bad, all right? But anyway, it's good to be back. My name is Charles Hutchins. I own Shed Coach, Shed and Carport Pro, and also write for Shed Builder magazine. Matt of Shed Builder wanted somebody with a third grade level to write for him. So I said, I'm the guy. So there I go. But anyway, what we're going to talk about today is some really simple things that we can all do. Over my 26 years, I've come up with these, what I call the 10 core commitments for success in the shed industry. And they're really, really simple things that we can all do to really build a really nice shed business, based on character, integrity, and things like that, a sustainable shed business. Who wants to do that? All right. And during my little presentation today, I'm going to ask questions and things like that. So please volunteer, because I'm trying to learn from you guys too. I am not a guru. I'm not an expert. I'm just somebody who's, trying to make a living selling sheds. That's it. But I've had what I think is some decent success. I work with a lot of good people in this industry, a lot of good builders and drivers and things like that. But anyway, who here uses Google and Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff? Okay, that's great. I do too. But what we're going to share today, all that stuff is great to get the phones to ring, right? But what you do after that is what really counts. You can't depend on that stuff. So I'm kind of old school, and we're going to talk about these things once I get unnervous, right? To share a little bit about myself, in the beginning, I started this crazy business 26 years ago. Anybody recognize these buildings? Yeah, I know you do. But anyway, they're insulated panel buildings. And how I got going in this business, I was attending Western Kentucky University. And my dad called me one day, and we were just chatting on the phone, and he knew I was entrepreneurial. I always mowed yards, had my own car wash business and things like that growing up. And he said, hey, Charles, you ought to look into these buildings here they're making here in Campbellsville, Kentucky. And he said, they're selling like hotcakes. You ought to get involved in it somehow. So me being the ambitious guy that I was and still am today, I called the people. They met me in Bowling Green. We had dinner, and I said, hey, if I find a spot down here in Bowling Green to sell your sheds, would you supply me? And they said, yeah, we'll do that. So I went to work on calling different people that own land. I picked out the best place in Campbellsville, the best corner, in Bowling Green. And I called the guy, and I said, sir, I'd like to rent that lot next to your business. And he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to sell sheds. And he was like, sheds? Because back then, hey, this business wasn't what it is today, right? You see like a few lots, like there's 5 or 6 lots in small towns now. But back then, hey, it wasn't like that. So he kind of laughed at me, and I said, yeah, like the ones they sell at Lowe's. He was like, okay, whatever. He said, call me in 2 weeks if you're serious. All right? So I called him. 2 weeks went by. I called him back, and he said, boy, you must really want to start your own business. He said, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you'll have insurance. I said, oh, yeah, I'll have all that, He said, if you'll have insurance, I'm going to rent this lot to you for $175 a month. And that includes electric. I said, man, I'm in. So what happened was I started getting my buildings delivered. I had a huge lot. I had like 8 displays. But back then, we didn't really have those big lots and things like that. But I was getting my displays delivered. People started showing up. I had my office there. And all of a sudden, I've got like 5 or 6 people in my office. And they're asking questions. And I can't answer them. So I'm thinking to myself, this is the best business in the world if it wasn't for these dang customers, and asking all these crazy questions, right? So I made it a point from that moving forward, I was going to become a pro. I'm going to try to become a pro in this business. And once again, I don't consider myself an expert. I'm just here sharing some things with you. Don't get the idea I'm preaching to you, trying to tell you what to do. I'm just going to share my story and some nuggets that'll help you. One of my mentors a long time ago said you have to have a strong why as to why you do stuff, okay? Whatever your motivations are, whatever you're doing. And outside of my Lord and Jesus Christ, my family is my why. It's why I do what I do. Now, when I first got going in this business, I didn't have a family. I was single, and my motivation was money. I wanted to make money. Who here wanted to make money? All right. Who here thinks money's important? All right. It is important, but I found that money makes good people better and bad people worse a lot of times, But my motivation was all off in the beginning. I started out, I was, money driven. I wanted to have a sports car, a big house, be able to go where I wanted. And over time, that changed. When you get a family, everything changes, as you know. How many here have children? All right. Would you do anything in the world for them? Absolutely. So that's what motivates me every day to go to work. When I go to work, is to do good for them, take care of my customers, and keep it really simple, right? So the first core commitment is to be enthusiastic and try to make a great first impression. So I have to go, we all have to go to work every day with a little enthusiasm about us. I have to get in a state of mind, no matter, if my wife's mad at me that I didn't take the garbage out, I have to get focused on the customer, right? So I encourage all of us to go to work every day with enthusiasm, ready to help customers. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, nothing great was ever accomplished without enthusiasm, right? I go around to different sales lots, and I just go in and see what they're doing, and, I don't see a lot of enthusiasm a lot of times out there, People just kind of humdrum, here's a brochure, go out and look, not much excitement right there. But to strive to make a great first impression, I think the first thing is just to be sharp, when you're talking to your customers. If you're a man, have a nice polo on, maybe with your company brand on it, shirt tucked in, just be sharp and presentable. You don't have to wear a tuxedo or a suit, just, look sharp, and that makes a good first impression. The next thing is to be enthusiastic. There's that word again, right? About the shed business. I mean, we have a great business. Don't we all agree here? Isn't it wonderful? Just be really enthusiastic about the shed business. I mean, you don't have to be jumping up and down and stuff like that when you talk to your customers, but, bottled enthusiasm really works. And try to be an expert in your field, okay? Whatever you're doing, selling sheds, building sheds, whatever you're doing, try to be the expert. I'll go back to that story I told you. When I first got in this business, I had all those people in the office asking questions. I couldn't answer them. What do you think that did? I think I ended up selling out of those 6 people, maybe 1 of those people came back because I didn't really know what I was doing. This is interesting. According to Harvard, it takes 7 subsequent meetings to overcome a negative first impression. 7. So here's the deal. I don't have 7 chances, and neither do you. If somebody comes to my lot, I don't take care of them, I'm negative, I'm not enthusiastic, they have no reason to buy from me. They're going to go down the street. Everybody agree with that? Think about how many sales we lose because we make our first impression was off. I know we all get busy. I know at my office, it's me and my dad helps me a couple days a week. But sometimes at the end of the day, that last person comes in, you're wanting to leave, and I got to sit there and concentrate. Wait a minute. They're here. They don't care that I'm leaving. I got to take care of these people, right? So just be enthusiastic, be sharp, and be an expert in your field. This is a big one. Meet each customer with a smile and give them a genuine compliment. I mean, who do you want to deal with when you walk on a lot, right? Somebody who's smiling or somebody just with a negative attitude? Just recently, I had some customers. I've got competition across the street, down the street, up the street. It's like everywhere. And one of my customers told me, she said, hey, I went over here to this lot. The lady was smoking and talking to me. That's a no-no, man. You can't do that. But be positive. I mean, everybody loves to be around positive people. And find a way to compliment your customer. But it has to be genuine. like the car they drive in, say, hey man, that's a nice car. That's a nice shirt you got on. Stuff like that. And Mark Twain said, I could live a year on a compliment. A lot of people, I myself included, if somebody gives me a genuine compliment, it makes me feel good. Absolutely. And here's a big deal too. If a customer brings up the competition, compliment them as well. Never, ever talk bad about your competition. Everybody agree with that? Has anybody been guilty of that? Used to, I did. I mean, I was like, I wasn't terrible about it, but I first got going, I wanted all the business. And, but I quickly learned to build a good, sustainable business with character. You never, ever say bad things, negative things about your competition. You just don't do it. When somebody comes over and they're like, hey, I've been to the people across the street. They didn't have any good things to say about you. I'm like, interesting. Then I tell them, and I mean this, I've met them. They're really nice people. They've got great products, but let me show you my stuff. You see what I mean? It diffuses the whole situation. And I just encourage you guys to do that, because a lot of times customers, they like to start crap, right? They want to see who's going to give them the best deal. And I don't play that game either, neither should you. But yeah, absolutely compliment them, and that diffuses it, and hopefully you can just move on from there and sell them the shed, Anybody got any stories or anything about people going to your competition and them saying bad things about you? Nobody? Dieter, I'm in the wrong, I'm the only one, I'm telling you what, man, everything's perfect. That's awesome. Number 3, connect with your customer. And I wrote an article called Get Your Ask in Gear, right? When you're connecting with them, you got to ask questions, right? Like, what are you going to do with your shed? And people are going to tell you, they're going to start talking, hey, I want to put a lawnmower in it. I'm going to kick my husband out, put him in it, all kinds of stuff, but or their wife. What colors do you prefer? Things like that. My wife just loves this one. People go, what colors you got? I say, you can have any color you want as long as it's black. Like Henry Ford, right? And what that does, that injects humor into the whole situation. And you want to do that at the right times, right? When you get people laughing and smiling, what happens is that barrier, that sales barrier that is there between you and the customer starts to crumble a little bit, and they start to get more comfortable with you, okay? And that's going to increase your odds of making the sale as well. Right here you see FORM, form. The F is for family. And these are ways to get conversations started, right? Like, hey, how many kids do you have? And they'll tell you. And you can relate to them. My wife and I have 3 kids. And I can say, yeah, my wife and I have 3 kids. And where do your kids go to school? And here's what happens. A lot of times where they go to school, we know people at that school, and I can make that connection with them. Don't you all agree that's very important to connect with your customers? All right. It's very, very important. The O is for occupation. Hey, where do you work at? If they work around Ratcliffe area or Hodgenville or any place I'm at, I will probably know somebody who works at those places, and maybe they know them, and that makes a connection, right? R is for recreation. Hey, what do you like to do? I like to go kayaking, fishing. Oh, I like to fish too. Where do you like to go fish? And that just gets you in the conversation with people, and that barrier starts to just crumble down. Before long, they're like best friends. They're ready to adopt you, That's what you want. And M is for motivation. Like, what motivates you? People talk about their churches. They talk about philanthropy, what causes they like to give to, the motivation behind it. And here's the main thing, guys. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Everybody agree with me on that? If you just go up to your customer, you just start talking about this building, you're not listening to them. You're talking about that building. Hey, this building has 16-inch center studs, treated floor, blah, blah, blah. I mean, all you're doing is telling, okay? You're not selling. Selling is not a bad word either. When I think of sales, I think of connecting with people, connecting with my customers. So nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Number 4, core commitment. I'm a true believer in this. Put your price labels and point of sale materials on your sheds. How many people here agree with that? How many people disagree? Okay, well, we all have our own way of doing things. I believe in this day and age, people want as much information as they can get their hands on. People don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk to salespeople a lot of times. They got a bad image in their head. A lot of times it's from, they always say, like a used car salesman, right? And a lot of times you go in a car lot, there's no prices. You go to a shed lot, a lot of times there's no prices. I've always put prices on my sheds, and people really like that. I encourage you to do that. You see I just have a really simple price label on my shed. It's laminated where I could do a dry erase. So if prices go up, like I know they have the last couple of years, or they've shifted around a little bit, I can just erase it. And that's at the bottom, that's 36, 48, and 60 month rent to own prices right there. I just feel like it's very valuable. People want to know what something costs. I've had many people say, why'd you do business with me? And they'll say, well, you had your prices on your buildings. And I'm like, when I found that out, I was down like 4 flat tires, man. I was going to put prices on everything. But also, I put point of sale materials. Who uses LP siding? All right. Well, they got a great program. They go around, they give you flags, they give you information to put in your buildings. I even put the brochure in the buildings, hang them in there with my business card. And the brochures and signs, they act as a silent salesperson. Because when you're not there, people can walk on your lot, grab a brochure, see what the price is, read up on the building, what it's made of, and all that stuff. And it just works out so much better. When they call you, they kind of know what they want. And also, upfront prices creates an honest approach to customers. You want to be as transparent with customers as possible. I call it telling them the good, the bad, the ugly, okay? Be as upfront and honest with them as you can. Who here has had success with putting signs and stuff? Who really puts a lot of materials on their buildings? You do. Good deal. What have you found?
Yeah, same thing you have. If people really like it, then just being able for them to come after hours and be able to still continue to shop and get information when you're not there, it really diffuses the situation. And then, Mondays are some of our busiest days because people are at the lot Saturday and Sunday, and they got our phone numbers. They're calling us on Monday then to talk about what they saw.
That's beautiful, man. I've never had somebody tell me, hey, I don't like you having all that information on your buildings. I've never had that happen. Anybody else got a story or anything they do? Come on now. That's great. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, man. Information. People want it more than they ever have in their life now. I've got a really good gentleman named Andrew Woods with LP Siding. Maybe some of you know him. I don't know. But they have just a great program. And I'd say take advantage of it because it's just free. It's free marketing materials for us. Anybody got any questions before we move on?
Just think about that pricing thing. What would be the reason why I like to get back to your solid why. Why would we not price our buildings?
Yeah.
In our mind, it might be, we don't want our competition to see our prices. There again, that's kind of all backwards, right?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the last 2 days. If we're more obsessed with our competition than we are with our customer,
That's right.
it's not sustainable.
Look, you hit a nail on the head. It's always good to be aware of your surroundings, like who's selling sheds, right? But and I used to get caught up like that too. I'd be like, gosh, man, wonder what they're doing. I'm worried about them. I'll be honest with you. I wish everybody the best. And I think there's enough business in it for all of us. I'll be honest, I do. And I don't worry about competition anymore. I really don't. I do my thing and not worry. Because when you start focusing on others besides the customer, like you mentioned, I think you really lose the point. You get caught up in negativity and worried about what others are doing. I mean, that's no good. You just concentrate on you, and I promise everything will go well. Anybody else?
I think competition makes it better.
Yes,
If you're worried about the competition, you're focusing on the wrong thing.
that's right. I have a
Where there's not competition, that's where there's not.
exactly. Good point of that is I've got a huge lot right across the street from me. And people go, golly, doesn't that bother you? They're over there? I'm like, no. Because now people think of that corner on that busy road as the place to buy sheds. And you got to understand, you're not going to get everybody. You're not going to sell everybody. You got to be okay with that. Give everybody your best presentation and let the chips fall where they may. Because your customer, your potential customer, they may like the people next door better, right? You got to be okay with that. I've called my leads back before, and I'm like, hey, just checking in with you. And they're like, oh, Mr. Hutchins, I hate to tell you, I went and bought a shed. And you know what I tell them? Let me tell you what I tell them. Something. I say, congratulations. I hope you got a good shed, your needs are taken care of. But if you ever need me in the future, hey, please come to me. And you know what? I think that's a good way to leave it. Anybody else before we move on? Yes, sir. That's a great idea. Will you make a note of that? I'm going to steal your idea, okay? Anybody else before I move on? Yes, sir.
Some of the rent-to-own companies make a price sheet that you can put your name on and fill in the blanks, different options for price sheets for all the buildings too. That's a really good way.
That's a great idea as well. See, I'm getting ideas from you guys, I'm trying to learn too. Yes, ma'am.
The perks with the companies that he was talking about is that you can download it onto your system for 20 bucks, and it goes right into your Facebook Marketplace or Google Ads with downloads. And you can, if you do for those companies who have needs, you can also use that for regular purchases.
Awesome. And you're with RTO National. Yeah. Another good company right there. Anybody else?
We started using some QR codes.
Yes. That's a good idea as well. When they hit that QR code, does it go right to your brochure, like with the current prices and things like that?
Yeah, it actually takes the page where they can actually purchase the building.
Oh, that's great. That's great. We've talked about that. We need to do that. Anybody else before I move on? All right, I'll move on. Number 5, another big one. Another simple thing is stay focused on money-making activities, which means stay focused on your customer, right? Zig Ziglar said you can have everything you want by helping others get what they want. When I found that out at an early age, it made sense to me. I mean, I could sell as many sheds as I wanted to, and I'm helping people get what they want, and guess what? In return, I'm going to get what I want if I do them a good job, and I'm honest and upfront with them. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you're not honest and upfront, you're running a business that's a little shady, it's not going to last. Something's going to happen. It's just not going to be what it could be. So avoid distractions. You got to turn the news off. Most of us that run shed lots have an office, of course, and we have a TV. I keep my TV on next to mute on the weather channel, right? I don't put it on news channels. You talk about the kiss of death. Let a customer come in there who wants to talk politics. That'll ruin your day quick, right? I call the TV the electronic income reducer. That's what it does. It's going to reduce your income because you're not going to get anything done. CNN, constant negative news. That's what it stands for, right? All these news channels, I don't care if you like Fox, CNN, CNBC, it's all a bunch of negativity. And if you get caught up in that, man, it'll get you in a bad mood. So avoid distractions. And in my early days of selling, I had friends that would stop by. They'd want to hang out. They thought, hey, I can just go hang out with Charles. And I'm trying to sell buildings, right? And your friends, you have to be able to tell them, hey, look, I got to get back to work, right? When we're at work, I mean, if I worked at a factory or someplace like that, my friends couldn't hang out with me, right? And that's how you have to treat this, like a real serious business. And you can't let people come in and be vampires of your time. Play on offense rather than defense. What I mean by that is always have a promotion or a special going on. I've got what I call the big deal, okay? It's a 10 by 20. I've got a really good price on it. But the big deal could be anything on my lot. Hey, this building's the big deal. I've got really good prices on my buildings, okay? But I don't sell based on price. I sell based on quality, and you're buying me. But I also do live radio remotes at my location. I invite in food trucks, like Hawaiian Ice people, and just let people come down and get, free food while they look around. But always be promoting your business. Does anybody here do anything like that? Anybody? Yes, sir. What do you do, sir?
We do something similar in annual customer appreciation day. The radio comes out, we do door prizes every 30 minutes, and there's lots of food and lots of fun and great atmosphere.
Man, that's awesome. Awesome. Anybody else?
Yeah, we do. Everybody ever brought up some stuff like that. I had a salesman, it's called the $5,000 burger. He got out the grill. He wasn't even a good person. He got out the grill and he fired it up, invited all the people from local businesses to come over. Next thing they had a whole crowd over there. And some customers tried not to stop food because the crowd called the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, it's just stuff like that works. You never know who's going to stop by and spend money with you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
We do a lot of things with our community, like we'll put a shed that the Girl Scouts can sell their cookies out of.
That's great.
And some of the, different businesses will follow the different, sports teams in the local parade, so they're on a pavilion being pulled by our.
Right.
Down, town, so.
That's great.
Things like that.
Where are you located?
Corey, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Nice state. Absolutely. Good ideas. Anybody got anything else they'd like to share? Give me some free ideas. All right. Successful people do things that others will not. And that's true. They make the extra phone call at the end of the day, that extra email, the things that a lot of people won't do. These things we're talking about are easy to do, easy not to do. But if you do them consistently, you'll see big results over time. It's not overnight. It took me 26 years to be an overnight success, right? I mean, it took a long time. But, successful people do the things that others will not. Anybody have any questions before we move on? Okay. Track your leads. I'm old school. I use a book like this. I know some of you have CRM systems and these fancy things. I'm like really old school. I keep track of people. I just write their name and number down and a cell number or an email or something like that. How many people here track their leads? Now, you're not going to be able to track. Everybody that comes to my office, I don't get their number. But I always ask, I say, hey, if they didn't buy, I say, can I have your number so I can keep track of what we talked about? That way when we talk again, hopefully, I'll be able to discuss it with you. And most people will give you their number, okay? We're not the car warranty people, right? Speaking of which, is your all's car warranty up to date? That's good. Good. But in order to lead the pack, you have to track your leads. And, the people who don't immediately buy write their name down, and it may take 3 to 4 touches before they ever buy. Okay? And what I mean by touches is I may text them, I may call them and just check in with them. I may email them. I do very little emails. It's mostly text and phone calls. And the people who get text, maybe I'll send a little video of me saying, hey, just checking in with you. We talked about a shed, and I talk about the particulars. And I'll say, just call me. I'm here for you anytime. And that's kind of a personal touch right there. People like being followed up with most of the time, okay? Who uses a CRM system in here? Which one do you use, sir? Yeah, do you find it pretty good? Right. I'm thinking about doing that because it gets monotonous writing everybody's name down like that. And who else uses those? Does anybody else like handwrite their leads down? Good deal. Good deal. The fortune is in the follow-up, okay? I can't tell you how many people that I've called back who said, hey, I was just getting ready to call you, Mr. Hutchins. I want to go ahead and get that building. And that's a great feeling when you're in this business, right? They're glad that you called them to check in on them. So definitely track your leads. That's a big deal. Anybody have any questions or comments you want to make about that? All right, we'll move on. This has got a gold star up there. This is very, very important. If you don't take anything else away from this today, take this away, okay? Ask your customers for referrals. Who does that? Who does it on a consistent basis? We've got a lot, okay. That's a big deal. You could triple, double, quadruple your business if you get good at this. I'm still trying to get good at this, okay? I try to do it with every customer. Each customer to me is worth at least 3 to 5 referrals, and that's huge. That's big. So, that's like a built-in customer base. And when you make somebody happy, they're going to share what you did for them, and those people are more than likely going to buy from you if they're in the market for a shed, right? I follow up with each customer and I ask, who else do you know that could use my services? Who else do you know that needs a shed, a carport, garage, whatever it is? A lot of times they'll tell you, Create a referral program for your customers. I give my customers $50 if they just bring me a customer. I give them a card, and on the back I have them write their name, my business card, and then they come in. It's like a coupon, and I send them what I call mailbox money. All right. I've sent out thousands of dollars over the years to people, and they really appreciate it, And most of them tell you, I don't want the money. I just want to, share my experience, and I don't need any money, but I still send the money anyway. Does anybody else have a referral program? How does it work? Is it?
We have a little card with the company name on, and then when the salesperson makes a sale, they'll put customer's name on it, and the customer can give it to their friend or whatever, and the friend brings it in, and we send them a $50 check.
Perfect. Do you keep up with those checks?
I don't know how many we've sent out, but
Yeah. And here's the cool thing. I didn't start doing this. I didn't know this till a few years ago. That's all part of advertising. That's tax deductible. You can write all that off. You just got to keep a record of it. But asking for referrals, I can't tell you how much success I've had with that. And I'm not really good at it. Okay. I try to ask everyone, but the time in the day, man, we're doing things, we're talking to people. It's hard just to focus on that, but when I do, it works out really good. Does anybody else have any referral opportunities or programs or anything like that?
Well, we have one, but we had to end it because of fraud. We would mail the referring customer a $100 credit card, like a gift card, if their friend came in and bought a building.
Right.
But it turned out they were all just
Oh,
using their cars together to go out to eat.
yeah.
Restaurants.
Man, that's great.
We got lucky in that the waitress at the restaurant who used all the gift cards, happened to know somebody that worked for our company. She let us know what was going on.
People never cease to amaze you, do they? I've had people call me and they'll go, "Hey, Charles, heard my neighbor bought one." Yeah. You got that referral program, right? I'm like, well, yes. They didn't mention your name though. Did you talk to them? No, but I mean, I'm sure they saw my building over here, and here's the deal. On some of them, I just go ahead and pay it. I don't want to make anybody mad, but use your own discretion on that. But yeah, people, they're the worst, aren't they? Anybody else got any good stories like that? Yes, sir. Yeah. Right.
I think what you're doing was good for an operator. But we have a sales staff that are not really
Yeah. That's right.
One thing that we like to do is, we have hats and t-shirts made up, so instead of giving them a referral card, we'll give them a free hat or a free t-shirt if they bought a building.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Try to make sure it's a nice hat, comfortable shirt, so they actually wanna wear it.
Right.
And then, we hope their friends and family see them wear the shirt or the hat.
Sure thing.
Use that as a referral.
Excellent. Excellent. Anybody else?
We do that same thing.
Same thing. Have you found that's a lot better?
Yeah, they're happy to give their referral because they had a good experience. and
Yes.
They're just kind of tickled that they got a shirt out of it.
Right.
That's right, that's right.
So.
Yeah. I've given shirts away and a few hats over the years. I'll probably end up doing a mixture of both again, but yeah, people take advantage of that referral thing sometime. But you know what? Sometimes that's the price of doing business. You don't want to make people upset, especially if they've been a good customer. But people are out for money. That's what you're going to learn. Anybody else before I move on? Yes.
We do $50 Visa card. We get the customer to give us the name and phone number of the one that referred them to them.
Yeah.
And I actually have 3 home care nurses that bring their patients to me and they buy buildings. And 2 of them pay their building off on RTO, really filling gift cards.
Well, that's fantastic. That's good. Give her a round of applause on that, man. I like that. Awesome idea. Thank you. Anybody else?
We do a post delivery email, and I just had the idea that we could do the referral thing in that email. We don't currently, but we can try it.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, you can't go wrong with any of the things we've talked about today because with this referral program, because you're just staying in touch with your customers, right? You always want to be reminding them, if it's possible, to be letting their friends know about what a great experience they had, things like that. So awesome. I'll move on if anybody else has any. Doesn't? Yes, sir.
You don't want them to block your number, though. There's people in my area that calls every week. And somebody says, I want to buy a shed in June, and this is in November, he'll call them every week or every month, all year long, until he blocks the number.
Wow, man.
Doing something right.
Yeah. See, if I work for a shed company, I just go in and hand them the phone book and say, these are my customers, all right? Yeah, these are my leads right here, But anyway, anybody else before we move on? As for referrals, guys, I'm telling you, people are talking about the economy and worried about gas and all that stuff. This is kind of going back when I was talking about the news. If you listen to that, you won't even come out of the house, right? You don't want to come out of the house. We as salespeople have got to cut all that out, right? So anyway, create a referral program. That's a wonderful thing. And anybody else before I move on? Kind of lost my train of thought there for a minute. All right. Send your customers a thank you card, a personal thank you card. Now, what you don't see here is I actually, in one part of this card, I handwrite a thank you, like, hey, I want to say thanks again for your business. I truly appreciate it. God bless. And people get that, and I have a lot of folks say, man, that's nice. I got that card from you in the mail. And this is another great opportunity to ask for a referral. I put my business card there, and it says I'll send them $25 to $50 depending on what it is. It's always $50 now. Used to when I had these little carports that were like $6.95. You know, you don't make much money on those things. So I'd send them $25, or if it's a piece of furniture they buy from me, $25. But most of the time it's 50. And if they're a veteran and they send me somebody else, sometimes it's 100. Depends on kind of what, I kind of use my discretion at that. But doing a personal thank you card just lets customers know how much you care. I think that's something that's kind of a lost art now. Everybody's in the technical world, has computers, want to send emails. Handwriting somebody a card, it means something to me. Does anybody else do this? That's great. What do you use? What kind of cards do you use?
We buy a business card, just buy a business card with
Yes, sir.
some writing on the inside,
Right,
everything.
right. And you know, your customers are going through things. They'll tell you, hey, my husband's sick, or my wife's in the nursing home. You can always remember that, okay? If you're paying a good attention to your customer and say, hey, I hope your husband gets better. You know, little notes like that go a long way. And like I said, it's another wonderful opportunity to ask for referrals. Do you want to say something?
I was just gonna say, we also, it's kind of a combination of thank you, and then relating again, typically at the Christmas time, we'll do a Christmas card to key customers and to some of the, cause you say you come as a friend and leave as family. And so sometimes we'll put the newest featured buildings on the Christmas card along with the logo, and people will comment throughout the year.
Sometimes they come as a friend and we fight like family, you know what I mean? Something goes wrong. Oh, man. But anyway, send your customers. I just encourage you to do that. It's an extra added touch that they're probably not getting anywhere else, okay? Anybody else? Anybody? Let's see what time it is here. I want to make sure I don't go. Number 9, what are you doing to stand out from the competition? What are you guys doing? Me, I just want to be the most likable and accommodating salesperson in this industry. That's what I want to do. I fail at it sometimes, but I'm always trying to be the nicest person that customer is going to do with that day, because I truly believe that people want to buy from nice people. How many times do you go somewhere and somebody's rude to you, you want to buy something, and they could care less about your time, right? And that's terrible. We're in the people business, okay? They're buying you. They're not buying a shed. They're buying you. They're buying me. So I try to be the most likable and accommodating person. My wife always jokes. She goes, why don't you treat me like you do your customers? I said, well, call me about a shed. Hey, that's right. Yeah. But I was going to make a point with that. Sometimes you can pour so much into your business to where you don't have anything good to bring home. And then when you get home, it's like, you know, you don't want to treat your family bad because you treated everybody else so great. But anyway, some other things I do to stand out is the things we're talking about in this presentation. You know, tracking your leads, asking for referrals. A lot of folks aren't doing that these days. I've talked to different people at different sales lots. I had one of my competitors call me the other day. They go, hey, Charles, do you do a referral program? And I was like, yeah. She goes, will you explain it to me? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Hey, but then do you do veterans discount? Yeah, I do that too. Yeah, standing out in the shed industry. Does anybody here got anything they're doing a little different than you see everybody else doing? Yes. I knew you'd have a good answer.
Where I come from, I actually tell the customer, I
Wow.
Holy others, and tell them I'll see them at the beach.
Uh-oh. I don't know what happened. Sorry about that. Yeah, wow, man. Anybody else? I think that's my cue to shut up, you know?
The lights go out on the ball game, pitcher's gone.
That's right. That's exactly right. But anyway, try to do something a little different than everybody else is doing. Anybody else before I move on? I know we're getting a little short on time here. Yes, sir. That's a great idea. Right. They'll definitely remember you then, you know it? That's beautiful. That'd be awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? All right. Number 10, daily personal development. About, a few years ago, one of my mentors said, "Hey, Charles, what are you reading?" I said, "Well, I read the newspaper." Right? I don't want to read anything. I mean, I've been through school, college, I don't think I've ever read a whole book cover to cover. But he said, "No, what are you reading to get better?" Like personal development type stuff. And he said he encouraged me to read 10 pages of a good book daily. And I'm going to tell you something. This right here has really changed my life right here. Who here likes to read? Right. Outside the Bible, does folks here read stuff like I'm talking about here? Keep it up, because what we're trying to do is become bigger than our problems. Everybody's got problems. All right. I don't care how successful you are. Everybody's going to have problems because you're dealing with people, right? So become bigger than your problems. 3 books that I highly recommend. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. It's a book about the little things you do, whether they're good habits or bad habits. Mount up, okay? So if you make that extra phone call, how many phone calls is that in a year's time? It's like 365 if you work every day, which I pretty much work every day, right? Seems like it. But that's 365 extra phone calls. How many sales do you garner out of that by just making that one extra call a day? And no, I don't advocate working on Sunday either, guys. I don't. I really don't. Slight Edge is a great book about having the slight edge. Like, what are you doing to stand out from your competition? The other one is Everyone Communicates and Few Connect. Like we were talking about earlier, I can tell you everything about a shed, but if I'm not connecting with you, finding out about you and your needs and your family and what you like to do, it's all for naught, right? So instead of listening to music, driving back and forth to work, sometimes I listen to audio, okay? A good book like that. It's called bread for the head, right? It feeds your mind because we're around negativity all day, okay? A lot of times. Anybody else have any good comments they want to make on books they've read or anything like that that helps them? Sales books. I mean, it's always good to read Zig Ziglar stuff, to kind of hone your craft a little bit better. Always be touching up on stuff like that. The future of your and my business is simple. It's always been the same throughout history. Jim Rohn said this: opportunity mixed with difficulty. Okay? We're going to have opportunity mixed with difficulty. All right, guys, listen. I'm getting the cue down here. Let me see here. Real quick, before I leave here, I consult with a business called America's Buildings, and we supply Lowe's sheds across the United States, okay? We currently work in these states right here. We're looking for builders throughout the United States who want to partner with us, okay? And I got some information if you want to find out about that. We've been doing it for like 16 years. We're Lowe's fastest vendor, fastest growing shed vendor right now. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of in a rush. I'm getting the boot. Advantages of being involved with Lowe's, you get to pick up sales in your area, okay? Lowe's has a customer base that only buys from Lowe's, so the people who are buying from Lowe's are not going to buy from you and I on the streets. That's the fact, okay? But anyway, if you're interested in that, see me afterwards. But I really appreciate you guys being here today. Hopefully you learned a little something. I've learned a lot, and I thank you all for coming. Give each other a round of applause here. Thank you.